Activity 7, do genes determine everything? Joe's genetic counselor tells Joe about several patients who have Marfan syndrome. Joe is surprised to learn that some show more signs of the disease than others. The counselor tells him that even two children of the same parents can be affected very differently by the syndrome. Joe wonders how that can be since they inherited the exact same version of the gene. Genes help determine everything about you, but how big a role do they play? Articles in the media often describe the impact of genes in the environment on the development of human traits. Sometimes the articles refer to this as the heredity versus environment, or nature versus nurture debate. In fact, this is not a debate that one side will win. Your genes and your environment both make you a unique person. Researchers would like to know more about how genes and the environment affect certain traits. Side note, there's another term that we use for the effect of environmental factors on genes, and it's sometimes referred to as epigenetics, EPI genetics. And so when we use our choice board later on, you're going to see that term. Going on. Investigation of other organisms provide examples of how genes in the environment affect traits. Although each type of animal has a typical adult size range, the size of any individual animal depends on its food intake and other conditions. Here's the caption for these pictures. The cooler temperature at the tips of the cat's ears, face, paws, and tail is necessary for the dark color to develop, even though the gene for dark color is in every cell of the cat. Side note, that's because the dark color absorbs more heat. So in cooler temperatures, when it's cool out, you need to have darker fur coloring in order to absorb that heat. Going on. These are flowers called the hydrangea. The hydrangea flowers below can be either pink or blue, depending on the soil, depending on something called the pH of the soil, the chemistry of the soil. So we were talking about how the size of the individual animal depends on food take and other conditions in its environment, as well as genetic factors. The shapes and sizes of trees, the colors of hydrangea flowers, and the dark coloring at the tips of a Siamese cat's ears are all traits determined by both heredity and its environment. In this activity, you will use seeds of a flowering garden plant called the Nicotiana seeds to investigate how genes and the environment affect plant growth and development. Some of the plants have a genetic change called a mutation that prevents their seedling from developing their normal green color. So the question that we're going to be looking at is what causes the differences between genetically identical organisms?